Well, greetings and thank you for joining me on this demo tutorial. Today I want to talk about xtool. This is something that I've recently come across on github.com. It's a new open source project. It's already got nearly 4,000 stars at the moment. What they're calling it is, of course, a cross-platform Xcode replacement for building iOS applications. They don't mention iPad OS at the moment, but the most interesting thing about this is that they're talking about iOS application development on a Linux PC or Windows PC. Now, most people know by now that I'm a huge Linux operating system enthusiast, and this type of stuff is actually really, really interesting to me because even if this isn't good for interactive development like a full IDE or something like that, perhaps this is really good for just kind of doing some sort of CI/CD builds or pushing to the App Store, something like this. So I actually haven't had a moment to really go through the whole xtool ecosystem, what's happening here, what are the pros and cons. And so I thought I would just do this as a recording, kind of interactively. I have a new system, a new Linux PC that I've recently configured. There's still a lot of things that I don't have configured on it. And so I thought this would be a really good way to kind of like get this system warmed up, learn about a new open source project, something that might actually be able to add a lot of value to people's tool chains. And I haven't noticed any demos published on xtool already, so this might be one of the first ones. Again, I'm recording this in June of 2025, so join me along here. Like I said, I already noticed that they've got about almost 4,000 stars. It's calling 3,700. They're saying build a Swift PM package into an iOS app, sign and install iOS apps, and interact with Apple Developer Services programmatically. So those are some pretty amazing initial features right there. Again, they're saying this is for Linux PCs and Windows PCs, and it has this command line interface. So like I said, I'm kind of like interested in this space. Again, it could be for interactive development or it could be for non-interactive like CI/CD stuff. But let's review some of their documentation. They have a really interesting website, top-level domain name registered. It's called xtool.sh. Here is their installation page for Linux and Windows. Now, I've skimmed through this before. They have some notes on this Windows subsystem for Linux, Windows, PC users. They also have the notes on Swift. It makes sense that you're going to need Swift installed because we are talking about iOS application development. USB Mux D is something that I've previously come across in the past. It's most likely for connecting a physical iOS device to your, say, your Linux PC in this example. Um, and another big thing that they've highlighted here towards the top of their installation notes is this xcode.xip file. Now this looks like it's something related to the Xcode SDK or something like this. Uh, Big thing they highlight is that this has to be downloaded directly from developer.apple.com, and of course related to all the licensing and stuff like that, you need to be actually signed in to download this file. So I've actually already done that, and one of the big things there is, well, yeah, you need to be logged in. So I've pre-downloaded the file in this example, and they kind of give the instructions here for downloading xtool. There's like some sort of like kind of init command. They're calling it setup here in this case. They have this login mode here as well. They do give you two options for this, like using kind of like an API key, which does require you to be in this Apple Developer Program membership. And they also have this password situation as well. So let's take a look here. I've already downloaded some of this stuff. Let's take a look here at the downloads directory. I need to untar this swiftly, it looks like. Um, and let's figure that out. It looks like there's something wrong with the Swiftly package manager at this point, at least the download that I've that I've done. Let's take a look at that again. Let's go to the swift.org page. Um, so one of the things that I did was I said download swiftly for Linux, and I went ahead and press saved. I'm going to press replace. See if we get a better download this time. Looks like I'm going to say allow download. And now, yep. So Firefox was trying to prevent me from downloading that file. I'm going to go ahead and extract this here. And let's go ahead and look at their installation notes again. Um, yeah, so looks like I'm supposed to do a Swiftly init here. I haven't done Swift on Linux before, so I'm going through this for the first time. So let's see what we got here. What do they recommend? Init. Well, if I could type correctly. So here we have something here related to Swiftly installs files into the following locations. These locations can be changed by setting the environment variables. Proceed. I'm going to go and proceed here. I'm going to say yes. Say number one, Ubuntu 2404. And looks like that's going here. Now let's review some more of this documentation. Like I said, I've already downloaded this XIP file, which they highlighted up here, pre-downloaded that. And let's see what else we have here. Yeah, so there's some interesting stuff here, but it looks like we need to get some dependencies going here for this Swiftly situation. We'll go ahead and install some of these here that they're talking about. Let's take a look here. Now let's run that. Oops, interesting. Well, interesting that this Swiftly is gone now. Let's look at that script here. I'm kind of regretting not installing Swift via Brew at this point. Well, let's try something like this. Let's go back to their overview page here for xtool. Say Swift dash dash version should return something, is what they're saying. Well, again, I got a new keyboard on a new computer, so it helps if I type correctly. Still no Swift installed. So let's go back and let's extract that command again. Let's extract. Let's Replace all, close. Proceed. Okay, added by Swiftly. There it goes. Well, it looks better this time. So this is like kind of like the first stage here. And let's go back to this situation. Might have to 6.1.2 looks to be up here in the top right corner here. They're showing 6.1.2 as the situation for Swift. So that might be the best choice here. Let's go back to that terminal here. I want to see if I get a Swift in my path. Hmm. Let's see if we, yeah, so they still don't install anything in the path here. Again, this is interesting doing this download directly from the swift.org site rather than Brew. Um, let's try, it says here, added by Swiftly home Chris, that local share, Swiftly env. Let's try sourcing this file here, see what we get here, or at least let's look at it. Okay, let's try sourcing that file here. And let's, okay, now we seem to have a Swift. And supposedly we're supposed to be able to do a version command here. Let's clear the screen here. Okay, we got 6.1.2. Okay, that looks inspiring. Let's go back to that xtool installation. Now they're talking about USB Mux D. Um, so let's take their instructions for that. And let's get that in. Oh, looks like we already have that installed. That's great. Okay. And we have the xcode.xip file already downloaded. Now we need to check on xtool itself. Let's um, let's cd to somewhere else here. Let's see what we have here. Let's we have an xtool app image. The question is, looks like they're suggesting that we should put xtool in user local bin. Not sure if that matters or not. I think I might try putting this in home bin. Let's actually let's see if that works here. There might be a reason why they're recommending user local bin, but let's there we go. So let's do a which xtool. Hmm. Okay, we need to enable. Let's now if we cd to projects. Okay, let's just still no xtool. Now the question is, why is that? Maybe because, yeah, it says add it to a location in your path. Should have this in my path. So if I said like, yeah, probably because I need to rename the file. Yeah, I need to rename the file according to them. But I kind of like having the version name in the file. But let's do what they recommend for now. Okay, well, there we go. So now we have this situation here, and let's take a look. So we got xtool-help and xtool setup. Let's do an xtool-help. All right, seems to be functional. That's great. And let's do the setup. What do they recommend? Just setup, not dash dash. Then we have to do the login mode. So let's clear this here. Let's try password. Works with any Apple ID but uses private APIs. Let's try password mode at this point. See if that works. Now, the most interesting thing here is that it's doing a download, but it didn't ask me for any sort of MFA or anything like that. And there it goes. So it says it's doing some download, but I do have MFA installed on this Apple ID. So let's see if they talk about anything in the documentation related to yeah, the MFA. They don't really cover this here. Password. If you're not enrolled in Apple, you want to use password-based authentication. This relies on private Apple APIs to authenticate, so you may want to create a throwaway Apple ID to be extra cautious. Well, once you select a login mode, you'll be asked to provide your corresponding credentials, an API key or email plus password plus 2FA. Needless to say, your credentials are only sent to Apple and nobody else. Feel free to build xtool from source and check. Well, in this case, yeah, I already have the kind of security key, hardware token, MFA on my Apple ID. It looks like they don't have this configured in xtool right now. Um, I'll have to check the documentation or maybe the issue tracker to see this because should just be able to plug in my hardware USB token into like say the USB port and it should just work. Say, hey, but it looks like maybe they don't have this incorporated into xtool at this point in time. Um, so, we've gone pretty far here on this, and let's check the issue tracker, see if they talk about anything here. Here's somebody on Linux Mint like myself, xtool fails on Linux Mint. Let's just review that. Um, but yeah, they don't really give any, yeah, running xtool setup fails after writing metadata. They have some log file there. That's not very helpful right now, and I don't think that's my issue at all. I think the issue here is MFA. So let's just look for open issues on MFA. I'm not seeing anything. Let's look for a closed issue on MFA. Let's search for 2FA as well. Password setup doesn't prompt for 2FA. It's an open issue. So this is from just a little over 1 month ago at the date of this recording. I was trying to set this up with email password 2FA, and I get to the part of the setup that asks for code, but none of my devices pop up asking to validate a login and give me the 6-digit code. I'm using Arch Linux. He says, if that matters, but considering the app launches and I get past Apple ID and password, I suspect something else is going on. Yeah, so there's actually quite a bit of comments here. Let's take a look. He says, somebody else is reporting the same issue. Could you try creating a new throwaway Apple ID, letting me know if you see the same issue there? Here, somebody else says, I used the throwaway ID, but I guess it was an issue with ID itself. I logged in via the browser and added a phone number. It did give a one-time passcode to the phone rather than email, but worked. I hope this will one day, I hope this will someday add building KMP projects. Yeah, the same issue for me. I run xtool new, then select one password, put in the Apple ID, put in the password, then it asks for a code, but I never get it. I tried to manually get a code in iOS, but I put it there. Now, so let's review here before we wrap up this recording. This is a brand new tool. It hasn't been around very long. It looks very promising, and there's an important thing that I want to discuss here related to Apple's multi-factor authentication. Based on everything that I've seen in practice and in their documentation, they don't give you kind of like parallel mechanisms to choose your MFA once you have some of these like more um, uh, typically they're considered more harder to fake MFA situations like a physical hardware token. Apple only gives you that choice once you've enabled the physical hardware tokens. They don't give you uh, the telephone number, as far as I know. They don't give you a six-digit one-time passcode on one of your currently powered on and internet connected Apple devices. They don't seem to offer this. Um, whereas like other ID providers, say for example Google, they'll let you choose from a time-based one-time passcode through like Google Authenticator or a physical device or like an SMS one-time passcode. They'll let you choose this kind of like at the time of authentication. They have a different flow. Apple says once you've enabled physical hardware devices, that's all we're giving you. I of course like Google's flow better because it's they're all kind of equally treated. Um, you can say prefer a passkey or prefer a physical hardware token, but it does give you both at the same time. So this is one of these things where, yeah, we'll just have to see how this develops here. The other thing I could do at this stage is create a new Apple ID that doesn't have the multi-factor authentication with the physical devices enabled. Um, the physical hardware token in this case. So, anyways, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you guys very much, and we'll track Xtool in the future. Cheers.